5 things. So what were those 5 things, ma'am?
Yeah. So disengage. So you stop engaging first. That stop the conversation right there. Save the evidence. Then you block that person so they cannot reach out to you again. And then you first report on platform because all major platforms have a reporting mechanism. And then you tell a trusted adult, if possible, immediately. If so nobody's around, then the very same day, the earliest possible, you have to tell this to the trusted adult. And now imagine that if you have to be this trusted adult, you have to know about these things and, and be sensitive to the child. But see, what happens that we immediately pounce on the child. Why were you on that platform? Didn't I tell you not to do that? Why did you talk to this person? So most children then just shut off and then prefer to handle it on their own. And this is something I think we have all of us have to learn. I also learned it very gradually, but now I often ask my daughter that, okay, what are some of the things that I do like make you uncomfortable or, scared or like make you disappointed in the way I behaved, and once she knows that I mean, to change, like she is honest about this.
Manisha, I would like to thank you. I have 3 grandsons, and I know how critical this topic is, not just to parents, but also the grandparents. Because
Yes.
I'm noticing a lot of grandparents just about showing the phone to them. It's a very scary time. Like, it's lucky that my grandsons have grandparents on both sides, the whole family, the whole joint family around them all the time. I don't see that elsewhere. And I see even 6 months old babies are given screens to eat. There's zero emotional regulation happening with children. And this talk of yours has been a lot of guidance to me too. We all know about gambling, about sexual abuse, about grooming. But when you bring it all together and say, this is the area you need to work on. This is the area you need to keep your eyes open. When you said, pick your battles as parents, when you said listening to them without making judgments so that they don't go away from us, giving them the freedom to come back to us, I think these are actually going to be life savers for a lot of parents.
Thank you. And there's like so much good also out there.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think it's equally important. And we have also noticed that children look at us, for that kind of guidance. And we can actually, drive them to those kind of sites that, look, here is a beautiful site where you can do this. Here is a site where you can meet, the like-minded children, or participate in a global cause. So there is a lot of good also happening. I think that's very important. Yeah.
That's true. But then as parents, as grandparents, we are not aware of those sites.
Yeah.
I noticed my grandsons are watching a lot of violence from when they were kids. What happens is at some point people think that only brawn, only being strong is the only way out, which they cannot be. So then I had to say, okay, look at Hanuman. Look at the way he is. He was very sad that he couldn't jump and go to Lanka. He was feeling weak. And then someone came and spoke to him and gave him courage, and then he went. So, the Indian mythological stories accept humans having weaknesses also, which I'm not seeing that the Western cartoons are having. So, yeah. Thank you so much. We can start with the questions. Shmail, would you like to ask yours?
Okay, thank you very much. A very interesting presentation. And I want to ask you a question. How online technologies, how digital technologies can support improvement education of children?
Yeah. So what we found that, there's lots of creative things that can be done using technology for education, right? So again, when I was going to talk about this global citizenship part, let me say that internet is the cheapest and the easiest way for us to understand about the cultures elsewhere, other countries, cultures, if you want to learn Say you are learning a foreign language. AI can be a beautiful learning companion for practicing foreign language, for example, right? So you can also join online communities of young people, where there are lots of discussion threads, and many of these sites are also moderated. So the important thing is to be part of the right kind of communities and the right kind of networks. Also, see, these things cannot be imposed on a child. So it's very important that we first identify what they are interested in, and then find appropriate resources on the internet. The beauty of the internet is that you can, get so many things from beyond your geographic proximity. So if your child is really, really, say, interested in physics and there is nobody in your surroundings, who is a physics expert, I mean, he or she can easily find a good mentor online. And this, I've seen many young people benefiting from this kind of mentorship. I've come across so many design communities, for example, where young designers get mentored by experienced designers. So identifying the supportive networks and communities can help a lot in education.
In fact, when my kids were small, I used to have these Jumpstart series discs. At a very young age, I could introduce them to mathematical concepts of fractions, which made mathematics a breeze for my children. And we used to sing songs along with it. So every day, one song we used to, whatever they wanted to sing, we would just put and we would listen and sing together. So yes, it does have a lot of advantages.
Potential, yes.
Yes. So there was one thing you had said, exit strategy. I don't keep secrets that make me comfortable. What were those 5 things you had mentioned?
Yeah. So see, when you have to teach the child, whenever you are encountering a difficult or problematic interaction, it could be from a peer, it could be from a stranger, it could be from an adult, they little bit know. And they might, get them into conversation, then ask them about certain information, get them into confidence, then ask them to send their pictures. If things escalate, then they would say, okay, how about sending a nude picture, for example. So you have to really tell your child that all these things can happen. And if such a thing happens, these are the 5 steps you're going to take. That first of all, you disengage, you save the evidence, you report the person, and you have to tell this to a trusted person. It could be a parent, it could be uncle or an aunt, it could be a teacher, a grandparent. So all these conversations have certainly now become very important, because even when I was raising my daughter, when my daughter was young, even I wasn't aware that like such things were going on the internet,
5 things.
Yeah.
So what were those 5 things, ma'am?
Yeah. So disengage. So you stop engaging first. That stop the conversation right there. Save the evidence. Then you block that person, so they cannot reach out to you again. And then you first report on platform, because all major platforms have a reporting mechanism. And then you tell a trusted adult, if possible immediately. If so nobody's around, then the very same day, the earliest possible, you have to tell this to the trusted adult. And now imagine that if you have to be this trusted adult, you have to know about these things, and and be sensitive to the child. But see, what happens that we immediately pounce on the child. Why were you on that platform? Didn't I tell you not to do that? Why did you talk to this person? So most children then just shut off and then prefer to handle it on their own. And this is something I think we have all of us have to learn. I also learned it very gradually, but now I often ask my daughter that, okay, what are some of the things that I do like make you uncomfortable, or scared, or like make you disappointed in the way I behaved, and once she knows that I mean, to change, like she is honest about those things.
If you see the strata of Indian society, people who are interested in parenting, people who are interested in such things, or at least have a glimpse of it. How are you seeing the majority of our country?
I'm very worried. I tell you why. It's not even digital media, but the kind of movies parents bring their children to. I am shocked how irresponsible you could be to bring your child to this movie just because you don't want to miss it. So, unless we do something very concrete and consistent, and schools also step up. I think schools also then take the easy way out and say, you're not going to bring cell phone to the school. And they think that they've done their duty. So, lot of sensitization and education, I think, is required.
Should it be a part of the curriculum, this kind of?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I would say.
Today, with the heat, it's really sad to say that we're not able to send children out to play. So the only thing that I'm noticing everywhere is the children are glued to the TV from morning till night. And you had suggested that we should give them alternatives. Some of the things you suggested were hobbies, encourage plays, encourage all this. But what happens when they're not available? You can't send the children to 10 classes a day. You can send them for 2 or 3 classes. What happens after that on holidays? What do you advise?
There is so much of innovative plays possible. I remember, as a kid, we had like a theater group, just friends and cousins, like we would tie saris all around, like create kind of a stage. And, we would stage plays for friends and families and neighborhoods. Similarly, like making puppets and hosting puppet shows, creative writing, even cooking. Just tell them that find out something where media is not involved. Sometimes even parents have to spend some time, like brainstorm ideas. And some creative things can be done with media as well, like designing things, creating things, like give them all the old photographs and say that, okay, can you scan these and make like a nice family, memory book. I think if we give it a little thought, there's quite a few things for which we don't need so much of like going outside.
Is there any literature or anything available online which guides parents as to what activities to do with what age groups instead of putting them on social media?
Yeah, so there are parenting groups, but I don't know any specific websites where I've seen that.
Yeah.
Or you go back to your childhood and, think of all the things that you could do. Applying Mehendi, for example, used to be a nice one afternoon's creative outlet, so things can be done.
How do you disengage a person from social media, a child from social media?
So disengagement is very difficult. So again, make them part of the decision making. First, they have to buy that what is too much engagement doing to them? What are they missing out? What could be some of the repercussions, for the future? So, for example, I'll give you an example about AI. All the adolescents naturally are very excited about AI. But I realized that, to my undergrad students, once I showed them how much every prompt, what environmental damage every prompt does, environmental damage. Yeah, because every AI uses so much energy, so much water. All the data centers like guzzle up like so much of drinking water. They generate so much heat, which is damaging the environment, and very few people are talking about it.
Yes.
So as soon as I brought the data, the examples, the cases, my undergrad students were like, I will use AI when I need to, but I'm not going to just do it to show me a picture of a cat wearing this kind of hat, kind of prompts, So I think children are sensitive. If we expose them to the correct reasons why certain things should not be done, I think they understand, most of them.
I have 3 grandsons, and my daughter had put a 40-day fast that they're not going to be on social media, the entire family. And then the kids were left with me because she was traveling. For some reason, the phone came out. One of the grandsons said, no, my mom said I cannot watch phone. The other kid was very happy to watch.
Yeah. So see, kids also differ, right? It's also differ, and one approach that works with one kid never works with another kid, even when both are your own kids, So you have to understand like what works the best for your child.
This is with people who are educated like us. What about the help who's with us? They don't know what their children are watching.
Yes.
And they have no way of understanding or even guiding them.
Yeah, and that's why I say that it's wrong to put all the responsibility on the parents. I'm very much against it, you know. Don't question the industry or big businesses who are just for the sake of profit allowing people to, you know, just recently, like think of all the apps that lets you just undress a person, for example, and they are freely available and people are making money producing this kind of app and nobody's stopping them. So it's such a
But security is not strong enough in India.
nowhere. I'm not even saying India, like it's very difficult, and I think
It's
everyone,
called, the app is called Grok, and
yes,
it's by Elon Musk. Yeah, a lot of cases have been made against Grok. They remove the adult content, and they've done it again and again, but it's not up to the mark at all. The thing about AI is it can be tweaked and it can be made of, like, you can fool AI if you're smart enough. You can tweak your words, you can bend your words, and you can make it generate scenes that are explicit in nature, but AI doesn't think it's explicit because it doesn't think like us. So right now, there's a lot of cases pending against Grok AI in India. I don't know when this is going to stop.
yeah,
Also, we are very complicit in actually giving more power to all of these institutions in India. We are selling capital, we are selling lands, especially towards the southern coast of India. We are giving a lot of space to companies like Google to make data centers which help generate AI content.
yeah.
And all of the companies, India is slowly going to become a AI data center hub in the next 10 to 15 years or so.
And then we have to think about all the water it will use, you know, all the heat it will generate. The complexity is enormous, I would say. And the technology develops so fast, and smart crooks act so fast, you know, that few governments can match that pace in designing and executing laws, you know, about it. So that's why it's ultimately then as parents, then we have to say nobody else is going to protect my child. So I should do it. But as you rightly said, that how many parents are equipped to actually do that? So schools, I think, also have to now play a very important role.
There's one question from Mr. SRK. When our children become parents themselves, what would make you feel that we truly succeeded as parents? Not their achievements or status, but the values, character, and the life lessons they chose to carry forward and pass on to the next generation.
Which value you mean I would cherish more? As I said, empathy is something I think if as human we lose empathy. Also, I am very much aware that all of us are worried about our own safety and our children's, and so we don't want to take any chances, but just shunning everything that is different from us, you know, every time different doesn't mean inferior or risky. So being more open-minded, not sacrificing your own safety, but being more open-minded.
So I was born in 92. At a very young age, my dad used to run a canteen in a theater. So watching movies for free was free for me. I just walk into any movies. And the kind of movies I would get to watch, you'd have these dialogues, "Mard ko dard nahi hota, mard rota nahi hai," and all these things, right? And it really seeped into me while I was that young. As I grew older, I had an opportunity to engage more directly with nature, work more directly with nature. And I got more sensitive and I didn't feel bad about it. I felt better about it, honestly. I
Yes.
could see how I was unnecessarily turned into maybe something more harder than I was, or
Yeah.
more closeted and more egoistic with a lot more boundaries. And then when the next comes next generation, they have phones as soon as they're born. A lot of people from my generation itself have kids who directly gave phones to their kids, like because they had work, both of the parents had work. So the kids started absorbing. I've seen something better in Gen Alpha, like they can distinguish slightly more better than Gen Z, because Gen Z was at the peak of it when a whole lot of political propaganda and everything was there on Instagram up front without any proper regulatory or filtration processes and everything. They were just children and they absorbed all of it. They Jai Shri Ram and everything got embedded so hardcore in a very different way, in a radical, rebellious way rather than a very good moral value way. Eventually, we start using AI and we have definitive studies from institutions like MIT that say that the use of generative AI may erode human cognition due to over-reliance. And this
Yes.
is very much happening. I think somewhere government has always done this. Like, okay, there's something bad happening, make them watch cricket. That is something Rome also used to do with gladiators. There's something bad happening, okay, let's make them watch cricket. There's something bad happening, okay, let's give them the tools they want with which they can stay distracted. So how do you create that gap where the kids can be maybe more empathetic and sensitive towards the environment and nature, like the external environment on which the world actually runs, even AI, like clean water, clean air, clean fire, everything, the world actually runs on these things rather
Yeah.
than how can we create that message for kids, or how do we embed this within their minds at a very young age that you can be smarter than AI. You can use it as a tool to back you up, but you don't completely go ahead and rely on it. And at the same time, you don't give it so much power that it will destroy the environment you live in.
Yeah.
So I've always been very confused between these things, that the gap is slowly closing down so fast.
It's a struggle, I would say. I'm just hoping that, this generation, like for themselves, see the negative things, happening
Yeah.
through and then there is kind of a backlash. I'm just hoping, but times see you raise your child in different way in your family, but that child ultimately has to go out in the world, and they also suffer at times because their workplace values could be something totally different, over competitive, or they don't care for empathy. They just care for material rewards. So there will be a time when, there will be clashes there. So it's a lifelong struggle, I would say. And then it's a part of a very large, I think, more complex system, right? And that's what I was recently reading, that it's very easy to say that, oh, because of social media, there are all these mental health issues. And they found out that, there's so many more mental health issues in children because of, say, family poverty. Just because you are poor, and your parents have no time, like they busy working 4 jobs to just provide you just, the basics. When parents don't get along, that affects children's mental health. But all these things are very complex things, and it's easy to, blame it on social media and say that, yeah, look, it's all because of social media. And that would be a very simplistic way of thinking.
And really, thank you, Trishant, for bringing a very important point, reducing human cognition due to over-reliance of AI. I'm noticing that with my own grandkids. I'm like worried, will they even know how to read or write at the way things are going on? Handwriting might disappear. In simple mathematics, like additions and subtractions might disappear, which is actually called illiteracy in our world. So it's a difficult place we are going to get into. With this, I'd like to thank Manisha Patak. It was the much needed talk, and we really need it. I don't think we're doing enough. What you are doing should reach out to every school, every parent, and every grandparent across the country, at least.
We need a movement, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much to the Vishwa team. Thank you to the past participants once.